Hi everyone! Welcome back to the channel for the second episode of Infinite Hope. I'm really excited to be here and report some hopeful news to you guys because as you all know, 2020 is a crazy year and most of it is filled with really bad and negative news, and we just all need to, get some uplifting and get some inspiration once in a while. So I want to do that, and I want to help you get inspired by sharing some hopeful news with you. And before I do that, make sure you hit that like and smash that subscribe button if you like what I'm doing here. And also follow me on Twitter, Nina7Infinity, and at me with your stories, inspiring stories that you come across, and I'll feature you in the next episode if your story gets chosen. All right, so without further ado, let's get to it. All right, so we have this story here. Teen McDonald's employee pays for family's meal when mom forgets her wallet, then she raises $32K for him. Whoa. Let's see. It says, when a stressed out mom rolled up to McDonald's drive-thru to purchase a meal for her children, she realized with dismay on making her order that she'd left her purse at home, but the teenage server at the window didn't send her away. Wyatt Jones said he'd happily pay for the meal. Aww, that's so sweet. I mean, can you imagine going to like a drive-thru with your kids in the back and everyone's hungry and probably just, going crazy, and then you forgot your wallet. That's not cool. Brittany Reed was more than grateful. It had already been a long day at soccer practice with 4 and 7-year-old. Later that night, purse in tow, Brittany drove back to McDonald's to give Wyatt his money back, but the Waynesville, Ohio local insisted the meal was on him. Aw, what a sweet guy. Brittany wrote a Facebook post, "I just want his parents to know how kind and compassionate your son was tonight. He made this stressed out mama pause for a moment and realize this is exactly what we parents try to do, raise great humans," she explained. "Wyatt, do not let this world change your kind heart, young man, for it's people like you that will change this world for the better." And I absolutely agree. What a sweet thing to do. Wyatt had shown Brittany such kindness. How to thank him even more? On hearing that he was saving up to buy a car, Brittany began a GoFundMe campaign on his behalf. As of October 1st, she's raised nearly $32,000 for him. How's that for gratuity? Well, he absolutely deserves it, doesn't he? And the video. The website has the video of the actual incident. I will link everything down below like last time so you guys can check it out. But that was really cool, right? All right, good Samaritan story. Absolutely wonderful person. Good for you, and he deserves that car. Good for him. Okay, so now we have not so bird brain. Scientists prove crows are capable of conscious thought for first time. Whoa, I'm not surprised at this at all. I have a lot of crow stories, and I know, for example, that they remember you. And my mom has told me some stories about crows attacking her, so I'm sure she's not going to be pleased about this at all. But I'm definitely not surprised. I know they're very smart birds. So the article says, it's news that may unsettle fans of Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, that's me. But scientists have proven that crows possess a form of consciousness and are smarter than they've been given credit for. Shorebirds, or the crow and raven family of birds, are consciously aware of their environment and the short-term passage of time, which in turn generates subjective experiences, the research found. Ooh. The team at the University of Tübingen in Germany conducted a series of experiments on 2 carrion crows in which they were shown some 20,000 light signals over the course of dozens of sessions while electrodes monitored their brain activity. The birds were trained to acknowledge the visual stimuli by nodding to show when they registered a flashing light. Some of the lights were more faint and short, making them harder to spot. However, this caused a divergence in the response given by the pair, leading to differences of opinion on subjective experience. Nerve cells that represent visual input without subjective components are expected to respond in the same way to a visual stimulus of constant intensity. Animal psychologist Andres Neider of the University of Tübingen said, "Our results, however, conclusively show that nerve cells at higher proceeding levels of the crow's brain are influenced by subjective experience, or more precisely, produce subjective experiences." Ooh, this is creepy. I mean, like, I like the fact that we're figuring out that they have a consciousness. That's really amazing. I mean, they live a long time as well, so this is definitely not surprising to me. The consciousness in question is called primary or sensory consciousness, as was previously only thought to exist in primates. This latest research may force us to reconsider our definition of consciousness, as well as the complexity of bird brains. Awareness of oneself, one's knowledge, and the ability to reflect on that knowledge, as well as apply it to one's experiences in the world, of all fall under the umbrella of primary consciousness and add an extra dimension to problem solving and decision making behavior, for which crows are already known. Absolutely, they are. So that's a really cool article. I'll link it down below. Everybody check that out. Absolutely fascinating stuff here. Okay, so next for this article, I think this is really fascinating stuff, keeping in line with the idea of consciousness and soul. This is a bit esoteric, but I've always found the idea of past lives super intriguing, and I feel like it's a really fascinating subject. So I came across this article called "Extraordinary Cases of Children Remembering Their Past Lives and Proving It" from CE Collective Evolution. The article reads, "Reincarnation is a fascinating subject that has remained on the fringe of scientific study for too long." I agree. Fortunately, it has recently begun to attract serious interest from the scientific community. Decades ago, American astronomer and astrobiologist Carl Sagan stated that there are 3 claims in the parapsychology field which, in my opinion, deserve serious study, with one being that young children sometimes report details of a previous life, which upon checking turns out to be accurate, and which they could not have known about in any other way than reincarnation. Fast forward to today, and amazing discoveries have been made, as multiple researchers have taken it upon themselves to study this intriguing and inexplicable, at least from a materialist scientific worldview, phenomena. Subjects like reincarnation belong to the non-material sciences, an area of research that deserves more attention. I agree. This kind of stuff definitely needs more attention. Like, it's very esoteric, and I love that kind of stuff. As Nikola Tesla himself said, "The day science begins to study non-physical phenomenon, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all the previous centuries of existence." Well, that guy was pretty smart. Maybe we should listen to him. University of Virginia psychiatrist Jim Tucker is arguably the world's leading researcher on this topic, and in 2008, he published a review of cases that were suggestive of reincarnation in the journal Explore. A typical reincarnation case described by Jim includes subjects reporting a past life experience. The interesting thing is about 100% of subjects who report past life remembrance are children. The average age when they start remembering their past life is 35 months, and their descriptions of events and experiences from their past life are often extensive and remarkably detailed. Tucker has pointed out that these children show very strong emotional involvement when they speak about their experiences. Some actually cry and beg their parents to be taken to what they say is their previous family, according to Tucker. The subjects usually stop making their past life statements by the age of 6 to 7, and most seem to lose the reported memories. This is the age when children start school and begin having more experiences in the current life, as well when they tend to lose their early childhood memories. Fascinating stuff. So this first case is from Anonymous. Eli Lash, a prominent physician in Israel who served as a senior consultant in the coordination of health services in Gaza Strip. He passed away in 2009, but before he did, he was investigating a supposed reincarnation case in which a 3-year-old boy claimed to have remembered a past life. In this life, he remembered being struck by a blow to the head with an axe and having a long red birthmark on his head. The present-day boy, whose name remained confidential through the entire study, also had a birthmark in the exact same spot, which is interesting because multiple studies, like the one published in Explore, point out how shared birthmarks are common to children who remember their past lives. The boy's father and a number of other relatives in the village decided to visit the neighboring communities to see if his past life identity could be established, and Dr. Latch was invited to join. On his journey, they visited multiple villages until the boy remembered the right one. He remembered his own first and last name, as well as the first and last name of his murderer. Ooh, that's freaky. According to the Institute of the Integration of Science, Intuition, and Spirit, a member of his community who had heard the boy's story said that he had known the man and that the boy said that he was in the past lifetime. This man had disappeared 4 years earlier and was never found. It was assumed that this person must have come to some misfortune, as it was known that individuals were killed or taken prisoner in the border areas between Israel and Syria for being suspected of being spies. The group went through the village, and at one point the boy pointed out this past life house. Curious bystanders gathered around, and suddenly the boy walked up to a man and called him by name. The man acknowledged that the boy correctly named him, and the boy then said, "I used to be your neighbor. We had a fight and you killed me with an axe." Dr. Latch then observed that this man's face suddenly became white as a sheet. The 3-year-old then stated, "Oh my God, that's creepy. I even know where he buried my body. Holy shit." The boy then led the group, which included the accused murderer, into fields that were located nearby. The boy stopped in front of a pile of stones and reported, "He buried my body under these stones and the axe over there." Boy, that is stuff for like a Halloween movie or something, like a scary movie. That's crazy. The next story is from Sam Taylor. Sam Taylor is one child Tucker studied and wrote about, born 18 months after his paternal grandfather died. He first began recalling details of a past life when he was just over a year old. When he was 1.5 years old, he looked up at his father was changing his diaper and said, "When I was your age, I used to change your diapers." He began talking more about having been his grandfather. He eventually told details of his grandfather's life that his parents felt certain he could not have learned through normal means, such as the fact that his grandfather's sister had been murdered and that his grandmother had used a food processor to make milkshakes for his grandfather every day at the end of his life. Pretty remarkable, isn't it? Well, I would say so. And there's tons of other stories here that this article talks about, so I highly recommend you guys go and read this. I'm just going to read the conclusion here where the author says, "My take on reincarnation. I personally wholeheartedly believe that reincarnation is real, but I don't think it's the only option for what takes place after death." I would have to agree. Personally, I definitely believe in reincarnation. That's just me. I know that it's a bit out there of an idea, but that's me. I believe in it. I believe some souls can reincarnate, as we've seen above, into another life. I also believe some can reincarnate into other planets as beings we would consider to be alien. Furthermore, I believe reincarnation is just one option for the soul. Perhaps they have the option to travel to other dimensions and experience a life there, or to completely forego reincarnation and experience life in a non-physical realm. from a physical body. Perhaps a soul must continue to reincarnate until certain lessons are learned to move to another level. I also believe that there is a common place where all souls come from, so perhaps some of us go there. I believe, as Plato did, that when the soul enters into the physical body, it forgets where it came from and has no recollection of that previous experience. I don't believe this material world is the only one in existence. There are worlds out there that are beyond our physical sense. Perhaps we come to know them in the afterlife. I can only speculate, of course, but I truly don't think reincarnation is the only option for a soul leaving its body. Perhaps a soul has a choice to reincarnate. Perhaps there are other options as well. My own ideas are really in line with the author's thinking here with regards to soul and what happens after death. From all the years that I've done studies into this topic, I can tell you that this is pretty much what I think as well. And I find it fascinating because when you think about how in today's world, we're constantly bombarded with all these divisive thoughts of, gender politics and race, class, all the stuff, that tries to divide us. You really think about it, if reincarnation is true and we've all been basically a man and a woman at one point in our soul cycle, or every kind of religion at one point in our soul cycle, and every kind of creed, race, everything, right? So we've all been that at some point, and it really diminishes the idea of division that we experience in this life right now. So if we take ourselves out of the present, we try and stress our consciousness and our minds into thinking more infinitely and about how we have possibly reincarnated as other things that we probably don't like right now. Like if you're a feminist and you're a hardcore feminist and you're thinking like, I hate all men, well, guess what? Maybe you were a man in a past life. And so it's just fascinating to think about that kind of stuff. And maybe if more people thought about that kind of stuff, then there would be less division, because we will come to realize that we've all experienced this kind of stuff at one point or another in our soul cycle. That's what I think anyway. All right, well, that's it for this week's episode of Infinite Hope, episode 2. Thanks for joining me, and don't forget to press that like and subscribe button if you enjoy what I'm doing here, and also follow me on Twitter, Nina7Infinity, and at me with your inspiring stories so you can be featured in the next video for Infinite Hope. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Bye.